Hello, my name is Rain and welcome to my channel where I discuss Fantasy Formula 1. Today's video is going to be a bit of a shorter one because I think most of the things that I said in my transfer plans video, which I posted earlier this week, still applies. I'm recording this just after Free Practice 2 ended on Friday. And I guess this is also a video to advertise that tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time, that's Saturday, I will be doing another deadline stream where I will be taking all of your questions and also finalize my team live in front of all of you. We will be discussing the results of Free Practice 3, as we can't really do that in this video because it hasn't happened yet. So today I'm just going to go over what my thoughts are after Free Practice 2 and whether that changes anything that I discussed in my transfer plans video. If you haven't looked at my transfer plans video, you should do so. Link will be in the description. And like and subscribe while you are at it. So let's just get right into it. First of all, we have the Free Practice 2 results, which I think are the most important ones. Because, well, Free Practice 2 is usually when they do quali runs, and quali is very, very important in Monaco, if you have missed that. Monaco last year, it was rainy, which was an anomaly. So we are not expecting that many overtakes. And everything I said about Monaco in my transfer plans video still stays through. I think the overall average score of drivers is going to be very, very low. So you want to find drivers that qualify well because the amount of overtakes will be low. And that's sort of how we have to approach this. Charles Leclerc was by far the fastest in Free Practice 1 and Free Practice 2. Both quali and long run speed. So both quali and long run speed, Charles Leclerc was by far the fastest. He was in a league of his own. You can look at the data yourself, and it's looking really, really good. Piastri was also really good on the long run speed, but didn't set a time on the softs. His fastest time was on the hards. So Piastri set some pretty good speeds, and probably showing where the McLaren lies in race pace. But if they can't put the McLaren into the P1s, P2s on qualifying, well, that fast race pace is not going to help them that much, is it? So very, very exciting as a Ferrari fan. But let me remind you what these numbers looked like in Imola last week. In Free Practice 1, Charles Leclerc was fastest by far. He was on a league of his own. Free Practice 2, Charles Leclerc fastest again. This time, it was small margins, but he was the fastest. And then suddenly Free Practice 3 and qualifying, McLaren's flying, and Verstappen is back to his best. Interestingly, both Max Verstappen and Checo complained about similar issues, or their complaints were similar to what they had in Singapore last year. And if you don't remember, that's the one race where Max Verstappen and Red Bull did not, well, I mean, Checo won some races, but it was the one race where Red Bull did not win in 2023. So, considering they're reporting similar issues, that is good for us, race fans. So Leclerc is looking really good and is looking like a really, really good asset for this weekend. Just don't get your hopes up just yet. I say this, and I think my transfer is very, very likely to be Lando Norris to Charles Leclerc. I think Lando Norris, if he was below 25 million, this would be a much harder decision to make. But I feel like even if Lando Norris were to outscore Charles Leclerc, I think just the budget gains of Charles Leclerc is just a band-aid if that were to happen. And it's looking right now like Charles Leclerc is the fastest driver here in Monaco, and I mean he's deserving of a win here. If he gets P2 behind Max Verstappen, which I still think is the most likely thing to happen, I would believe that he would get driver of the day, right? Even if Norris were to get third. So just for that reason, I think Charles Leclerc is almost a must-have this weekend. I think he's very, very likely to get the driver of the day. And he's looking really, really fast already. So if Red Bull have those issues that they had during Free Practice 1 and 2 tomorrow on Saturday, I think a Leclerc win could be on the cards. And that could be a pretty big haul. As per that note, I still think that this lineup is by far the best. Piastri looked really, really fast on the long run pace, and he's always been really good at qualifying. So I think the combination of Leclerc and Piastri for the price, I can afford this. But I think this is the best choice. And if you're on the wild card, I think I would go for something like this. Leclerc, Piastri, Ferrari, McLaren. Ferrari has been a good asset the entire year, so I don't really need to talk about them. McLaren's still below 25 million, which Norris isn't. Crucial fact, I think another 0.3 increase for them is on the cards for sure. And after that, it's just whoever you can afford. I still think Hülkenberg and Tsunoda are probably the best C-tier assets just because of their quali pace. Ricciardo could definitely surprise. We saw what he did in Miami, putting that car in P4. So I think those three assets, maybe Lance Stroll looks pretty good, just because Aston Martin can find pace. Obviously, if he puts it in the wall, that it doesn't help at all, but it's whatever. The problem for me is that I have to take a -3 to get this team in, and taking a -10 while bringing in a high-risk asset such as Logan Sargent feels pretty scary. I still think Logan Sargent could be good if he keeps it out of the wall. He had a pretty bad race and crashed out, I believe, last year in Monaco. But if you have seen the interview between Albon and Sargent, he did talk about how difficult it was because it was the first time ever he drove an F1 car in wet conditions. And I mean, those wet conditions in Monaco last year were very, very spooky, and even experienced drivers made pretty harsh errors. So I think Logan Sargent could be good if he qualifies P20, and then there's like 3 crashes, and then Bottas's wheel nut falls off in the pits. So Sargent goes from like a P20 to a P16, and with 3 with 3 DNFs and just 4 increases in position, no overtakes, a 4 points could be enough. I think the threshold for a price increase is probably going to be on 5 points, but with enough DNFs, that points threshold is going to lower for how many points you need to increase in price. So Logan Sargent could definitely rise in price if he keeps it out of the wall, so I don't hate it. It's just, it hurts to take a -10 to get this in. I do really want to get to the double B-tier driver lineup as soon as possible. But again, I would have to do a -10, and I don't have my wildcard available. So it's a big decision there to make. But no matter what, I think the Norris to Leclerc transfer is happening. I think that's almost locked in at this point. And if I don't want to do the -10, the other thing I could do is I could sell Bottas for a Kevin Magnussen or a Daniel Ricciardo. It could be either or. They're at the same price currently. But probably Magnussen. I don't know if I trust Danny Rick just yet. The problem with this is that I obviously use my 2 transfers, so next weekend, or I mean 2 weeks, but next race weekend, I cannot go for the Piastri Leclerc double up because I will have used all my budget on Magnussen. So unless both Tsunoda and Stroll has like a 1 million increase in price, I'm not going to be able to afford Logan Sargent with this because he's at 5.9. So the problem with making 2 transfers, Leclerc and Magnussen in, is that I then lock myself out of going for a Piastri Leclerc double up next weekend. So it feels like if I make a transfer now for Magnussen, I'm just shooting up when I have to make those that -10 hit. It's a -10 hit that's gonna come in the future. So there are some choices to make, but I think the main 2 is either I do the -10 for Leclerc, Piastri, and Logan Sargent, or the main 3. Sorry, did I say 2? I think I said 2, but the main 3. So that one, or it's just the Leclerc transfer. Keep 1 transfer for Canada and have some flexibility finally with what I can do with my team. Or I do the additional transfer for Kevin Magnussen. And I think that about does it for my team. As for other assets that you should consider, Hamilton looked pretty good in FP1 and FP2. I don't know how good they are in the long stints, but if he can put a decent qualifying lap in, and he is a very experienced driver, I think he's a steal at 19.4. He's now cheaper than George Russell. He's been for some time, but I don't know whether I trust Lewis Hamilton yet. Mercedes feels so wishy-washy in their form. They can just turn up at any point, or they can have a complete stinker. So I'm not sure I trust Lewis Hamilton yet. It could be a route to the Leclerc-Piastri by going Leclerc-Hamilton, since Hamilton is cheaper than Piastri. But I mean, if you have the money, I think you just go for Leclerc-Piastri and don't really look at Hamilton at all. But I thought I thought I should mention Hamilton at least because he had a decent FP1 and FP2, and just because of the price he is at. However, I still rank him among the bottom of all assets. I don't think that Mercedes is anything you want to put your money on. So that is about it. The final decision will be made tomorrow on the deadline stream. So if you have any questions regarding your team, come then and ask me them live, and I will respond to them. And stick around if you want to watch the qualifying with me, if you have nowhere else to be for that. But yeah, so Leclerc is definitely going in, even if that's pure Ferrari delusion. I think there is some logic to it as well. I think even if he ends up behind Max Verstappen, he's taking driver of the day, all of that stuff. So that is going to be my team selection. The final choice, I will post it on Twitter. I will tell you it on the deadline stream. I haven't decided yet what I'll be going for, but it's one of those three options for sure. Unless we should see something crazy. No, I can't add more things to it now. I had too much to think about last weekend. That should be what my decision comes down to. If you want to see me make that decision, join me live tomorrow, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.